Hey there YouTube, it's PC the Unicorn. With Season 3 of Star vs. the Forces of Evil around the corner, I wanted to share my thoughts on older episodes from the past 2 seasons. However, I realized doing that would take me forever to do, so instead I'm going to do what the YouTuber Jelly Apocalypse did with the Disney movies and describe every episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil in 10 words or less. I'll be ranking every episode on a scale from 0 to 10, so 0 being the worst and 10 being fantastic. There's not going to be no in-between numbers, so I won't give an episode a score of 8.5 for example. At the end of the list, I'll count down my top 5 favorite and least favorite episodes of the series so far. So without further ado, let's get started. The beginning of a beautiful friendship. A predictable but still enjoyable episode with a fun character. I swear, sometime I forget Skullnick used to be a human. Man, I wish football in real life was this entertaining. Oh lord, here comes the hentai jokes. Also, Jomi sucks. Cliche episode in which the main character isn't totally wrong. Aww, this was a really sweet and touching episode. The dimensional equivalent of Best Buy, but more frustrating. That moment when your friends say your parents are cool. Speed, starring Star Butterfly, Marco Diaz, and Ludo. Man, talk about raging hormones. I wish Alfonso and Ferguson appeared more. They are hilarious. Dark side, light side, dark side, light side, dark side. We need more appearances of Dr. Marco. The stalker is strong with this episode. Finally, the show gets a legitimate, interesting, serious villain. Acting in the moment is better than waiting forever doing nothing. Well, we know which parent Star got her personality from. Congratulations, Marco! You are now the newest Disney princess. Remember, it's always the winners who write the history books. Star really needs to get a better grasp of Earth culture. Meh, Miss Frizzle field trips are way crazier. Talk about being in a hairy situation. Surprise! Star tries to learn how to do the Avatar state. One of the best documentaries I have ever seen. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Stalker was name dropped. So are we just going to ignore Marco's ominous dream? Forget about getting a car, I want an invisible goat. I would love to have a laser puppy as a pet. Star, you are royalty. You can pay off the damages. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Never meet your heroes, kids, because they may be crazy. Well, it looks like River is going through a midlife crisis. Aww, Star and Marco will make great parents one day. Man, Bullfrog is becoming a very great character. Someone had to have been high when animating this episode. Wow, Glossawick is a bigger troll than Princess Celestia. First rule of Capture the Flags, there are no rules. And here comes the Janstar shippers. A fun episode with beautiful and heartfelt lessons. Remember kids, always read the fine print. Cause real frenemies we like disliking one another. For some weird reason, I'm in the mood for Cone. Here's Larry! Star spells are sentient creatures? When did this become Pokemon? You get foreshadowing, every cartoon gets foreshadowing. Krusty Krabs pizza, Krusty Krabs pizza, Krusty Krabs pizza. Wow. And I thought the DMV was a frustrating place. Jackie is a really cool girl who accepts Marco for himself. Dang it, Widers, why did you make me love Jocko? How dare you make Star cry, Glossawick? Everyone in this episode is a dick to Star. Yes, interesting, very interesting episode. Okay, how many goals am I going to ship with Marco? Man, I would hate repeating math over and over again. Man, I would hate repeating math over and over again. Man, I would hate repeating math over and over again. A fun episode with an awesome soundtrack in the climax. Romulus is a grumpy teddy bear who needs a hug. Man, I feel bad for Ludo. OMG, Toffee is back! Oh, so that's where Marco get all that money from. This episode was a waste of time. Also, Jomi sucks. One of the funniest episodes in the series. This episode's song is as subtle as an explosion. The Stocko Shippozo screaming with glee. Thanks, Stone FC. What is it with modern cartoons and these emotional cliffhangers? Now, since I don't want to end this video on a sour note, I'm going to talk about my least favorite episodes of the show first before going over my top 5 favorites. Number 5. Lobster Call. I don't have a lot to say about this episode since it was just kind of eh. It wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible either. The concept of monsters not necessarily being bad guys has been done plenty of times before. Heck, the show has made more episodes with this concept, but with much more success than this one. It was nice seeing Marco try to help out Lobster Claws, what a wand would look like in the hand of a monster, and was actually the start of Star slowly realizing that maybe monsters aren't as bad as she thought they were. Yet beside that, the episode was just okay. Number 4. The Banagic Wand. This episode was a bit hard to watch since it was kind of cringe-worthy. I understand that Star is a character with a very active imagination, and she is from another dimension, so it makes sense if she was still oblivious about a lot of things on Earth at this point in time. However, while she didn't act dumb per se, she didn't seem to use any common sense in this episode. She mistook a cashier as a werewolf, and people dressed up as pirates as actual pirates. Still though, I found this episode to be a lot less painful the second time watching it than when I first watched it on TV. Number 3. All belts are off. Why does Jomi even exist? Why did Marco need this little snobbish, spoiled rich kid as his arch nemesis? A majority of the episode is spent on Marco recording evidence of why Jomi is such a terrible person, and it just feels like a giant waste of time. We all know Jomi is a joke, so did we actually need an entire episode seeing of just how terrible he is? While it's good to know that Sensei actually knows that Jomi is a terrible person and that the only reason he gave him the honor of representing the dojo was for money, it was just a waste of time. Seriously, I would have taken an episode focusing on Alfonso and Ferguson instead. At least those two are likable and entertaining characters. Number 2. Heinous. You know, it says a lot when the actual villain of the episode isn't Miss Heinous, but Marco Parents. Normally, Marco Parents are really fun and enjoyable characters, yet in this episode, it was like they were hit in the head with the idiot stick. Miss Heinous comes for vengeance on Marco due to how he led the Princess Rebellion at St. O's. Yet instead of letting Star and Marco kick Heinous and her troll butt, Marco parents scold him. They are more worried about the fact that they're having a special dinner night with their cool neighbors instead of the fact that a crazy woman has come to their doorstep and wants to kill their son. I feel like the writers were trying to show that Marco parents should be more involved in his life, but this was a weird way to show it. The only saving grace of this episode was that Miss Heinous herself was actually pretty funny. And at number 1, the worst episode so far in the series in my opinion, Trickstar. This episode is so terrible that not even Weird Al can make it good. The entire episode, Star is trying to prove to everyone that Presto is bad news since he's obviously a magic user, but no one believes her. Even when it's revealed to the entire party by Presto himself that he has been sucking away their joy, everyone is mad at Star for ruining the party. Star did nothing wrong! She was trying to stop everyone's joy from being sucked away, but instead of being rightfully mad at Presto, the crowd get upset with her, which makes no sense. If someone saved me from my joy being sucked away by a creepy magician, I would be thanking that person. Honestly, I hope we never get another terrible episode like this again. Now that I'm done complaining about the worst episodes of the show, it's time to talk about the best episodes. Number 5. Muni Pendens Day. The first season of the show had a pretty repetitive but simple formula. Luda and his monsters would try to steal Star Wand, Star and Marco kicks their butts, and then we do the same thing next week. But in this episode, we actually get some world building and learn that monsters may not necessarily be the villains and that the humans are technically the real monsters. At the same time, we learn from Toffee that Muni Pendens Day to the monsters is known as the Great Monster Massacre. His line hints at an important plot point of the show. Before this episode, there wasn't exactly a clear picture of what the show was aiming to be, since the episodes would just follow Star and Marco wacky adventures. But now, we are receiving hints of what path the show is going. This episode was one of the first to slowly shift the status quo of the show by hinting at a larger picture. Plus, this episode builds off of Lobster Call, since in that episode, Star realized that maybe not all monsters are bad. Number 4. Sleepover. When Star is hosting a sleepover at the house, Ponyhead decided it would be fun if everyone played a game Truth or Punishment. Now, the reason why me and a lot of fans were really excited about this episode was that we hoped we would get some kind of confirmation of Stalker, since they were basically playing a magical version of Truth or Dare. Now, even though we did get confirmation that Star unknowingly have a crush on Marco, that's not what made this episode so great in my opinion. What made this episode truly amazing was the 2 pieces of dialogue that Marco and Star said. After the box revealed that one of the teens is lying about who their crush is, everyone is trying to figure out who is lying, since each of them will show that they were telling the truth. Ponyhead asked Marco specifically if he was lying, possibly because she thought that Marco may have a crush on Star. Yet this isn't the case. Instead, Marco have a fantastic scene in which he contemplates about how he's not sure if he liked Jackie for who she was or because he put her on this high pedestal, but knew that he liked her enough that she deserved someone who would want to get to know her, and is convinced that person is himself. This is a very smart line that people can relate to, since sometimes we can idolize a person so much that we forget if it's because of who they are as a person or because of how we view them. Then when the box confronts Star about how lies are terrible, she points out whoever was lying technically wasn't. She explains how people's heads and hearts will disagree, and that we may feel one way about a thing, but may unknowingly feel another way about it, since our emotions are always in flux. Combine the great dialogue, Star crush on Marco being revealed, and some funny moments, and you got yourself one great episode. Number 3. Star Crush. With this episode being the season 2 finale, you know it's going to be good, and it did not disappoint. After the events of Face the Music, Star and Marco's friendship is strained since Marco learned about Star's crush on him. At the same time, Moon and the other members of the Magical High Commission confronts Ludo and try to rescue Gosserick. Now, with Star and Marco being teenagers, they are both obviously feeling some very mixed emotions. Marco is obviously confused since he just learned that his best friend have a crush on him and have no idea on how to feel about it since he's finally dating his childhood crush. Star isn't faring much better since her friends take her to a party in order to take her mind off of her now complicated relationship with Marco. She even decided to hang out with Oscar over the summer in an attempt to get over her feelings for Marco. Watching this episode made me realize that even though the show is full of magic and monsters, the writers do seem to know how to write teenagers and have them deal with romance and complex feelings in a realistic way. We also got to see Moon and Ludo share a nice scene together. Throughout season 2, Ludo has not only become a legitimate antagonist, but has also gotten some great character development. Ludo isn't necessarily a bad guy, he just became the way he is because of his terrible childhood and his relationship with his family. So seeing him tell Moon that despite every terrible thing that happened to him, that he's still standing, shows just how far Ludo have changed since the villain he was in season 1. It was also nice to see that Moon is genuinely concerned about Ludo's sanity since it's clear he is reaching his breaking point and really wants to help him. The episode only gets better and crazier with Toffee taking control of Ludo's body and killing most of the magical High Commission, Moon telling Star that they have to atone to Muni, and Star telling Marco that she does indeed have a crush on him. It was a finale with twists and tones that left fans hungry for season 3. Number 2. Just Friends. Now I was a bit nervous about this episode when I read the synopsis for it. In an effort to prevent Jackie from feeling like a third wheel, Star invites Jackie to go to a love sentence concert with her and Marco. Now I have seen this plot done enough times to know that things could go terribly wrong in a number of ways, especially when it involves a love triangle. Thankfully, however, the episode avoids all the stupid love triangle traps by having Marco himself feel like the third wheel instead of Star. This was a really clever thing to do since the episode have Star and Jackie bond closer as friends instead of having Star feel left out by how close Marco and Jackie were being. It was also very sweet to see Marco's relationship with Jackie bloom even further when Jackie tells him that he shouldn't be beating himself up over a couple of mistakes and that she was having a fun time hanging out with him. However, the best part of the episode, beside the epic song of course, was how Star handled herself when she saw Marco and Jackie kiss. Instead of being mad at Marco or Jackie, she decides to leave before doing something that she will obviously regret. You can really see the heartbreak behind Star's fake smile, which is just further proven when she unleashes some green magic. After watching this episode, I was just amazed. These writers really seem to know how to handle a love triangle the right way without adding any of the stupid stuff. Looking at you, Legend of Korra. And at number 1, my favorite episode so far in the series, Bon Bon the Birthday Clown. Now some of you may be wondering why I chose this episode instead of something like Storm the Castle or Star Crust. Now, while those episodes are great in their own right, this episode has a perfect combination of character development, action, suspense, and heartbreak. After Marco is asked out to the school dance by Jackie, Star begins to have second thoughts about going to a clown seance with Jana. First of all, the best thing about this episode was that it really helped flesh out Jackie as a character. For most of the show, Jackie was just this character that we knew very little about that Marco was in love with for some reason. Yet in this episode, we get to see her really grow through her interactions with Marco and understand why Marco likes her so much. The episode showed that Jackie can be blunt but not in a mean way, pushy but in a way to help Marco get out of his comfort zone, and has this air of confidence around herself, something that Marco seemed to admire. Jackie even explained to Marco that the thing she likes about him the most is that no matter how many times he made a fool of himself in front of her, he never gave up and just kept on trying to talk to her. Because of how genuine their interaction and chemistry felt, I found myself shipping Choco, which came as a surprise because I'm a hardcore stalker shipper. In the span of 22 minutes, the episode had me care about Jackie as a character and actually become invested in her and Marco relationship. Then you have Star plot with her being distracted from the clown seance since she is still thinking about how Jackie and Marco went to the dance together. Seeing Star bothered by how Marco and Jackie are going to the dance together is handled in a believable way since she isn't exactly sure why she's feeling the way she is. This builds off of what Star said in Sleepover about how she explained how people's heads and heart will disagree and how people's emotions are always changing. So seeing her get more upset when she sees how much fun Marco and Jackie are having together is understandable. Combine that with an action-packed magic battle, a beautifully scored episode, and a shift of the status quo of the show with Ludo having the book and Star on her way to discovering her feelings for Marco, and you got yourself one amazing episode. So there you have it, folks. Make sure to like this video and leave a comment down below while also subscribing to my YouTube channel. Also, check out my other videos and follow me on my social media sites that you can find in the description box below. Until next time, this is PC logging off.